Hello and welcome back to the world of psychology. Predicting elections. Child's play. In 2009, a very influential paper was published in Science, which is probably one of the most important scientific journals all over the world. And this paper was published by John Antonakis and Olaf Dalgas from the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. The title of the study was quite provocative: Predicting Elections, Child's Play. But how should children be able to predict the outcome of an election? I mean, they have no political knowledge, they don't know what's the candidate's political agenda, so there seems to be no way that children can predict the outcome of an election. How on earth should this work? Well, it worked. And it worked just by showing them pairs of faces, the face of the winner and the face of the runner-up. These were pictures from the runoff elections of the French Parliament. And just by looking at the two faces, having no other knowledge at all, the children were able to predict who is going to win. But in fact, they weren't asked, well, here you see two politicians, just tell me who is going to win the election. No, the study design was more tricky. In fact, it was a child-oriented, game-like procedure. The children first participated in a computer simulation of the journey from Troy to Ithaca. And afterwards, they were asked, well, if this journey took place today, who of these guys would you select for your captain? And then they were shown the pairs of faces. And of course, you have to choose a person you can trust, you regard as competent to be the captain of such a dangerous journey. And asked in this way, the hit ratio of the children was 71%. In 71%, they chose a person for their captain who in fact had won the election several years ago in France. Now you might say, well, they did not really predict the election outcomes as the election had already been over. And maybe the children knew some of the faces and they just chose the faces they are familiar with. But this is very improbable because the children were 5 to 13-year-old Switzerland children, and so it's very improbable that they know any of the politicians from the French Parliament. In fact, I, from Germany, and being grown up, I might know some French politicians from the government, but I don't know any faces from the French Parliament. Another really interesting result of the study from Antonakis and Dalgas, the hit ratio of grown-ups. They also had 160 grown-up participants. The hit ratio of the grown-ups was almost the same. There was no significant difference. So it seems that the preference for some faces and what's regarded as competent and trustworthy is either inherent and in parts in our genes, or it's learned very early in childhood. Now you might say, well, one study is no study, and is there any more evidence? Are there replications? In fact, some years before the study of Antonakis and Dalgas, also published in Science, the study from Alexander Todorov, published in 2005, also in Science, or the study from Bellew and Todorov in 2007. These studies got a lot of attention as well, because in these studies, competence judgments just based on looking at pairs of faces of the US Senate and US gubernatorial elections reached a hit ratio of 72%. So in 72%, the person which was regarded as more competent, in fact, had won the election. And what was even more astonishing, when the participants were shown the pictures for just 100 milliseconds or 250 milliseconds, their hit ratio was just as good as before. And I mean, 100 milliseconds, this is 1/10 of a second. This is such a short time. You can't let your eyes wander from one picture to the other. No, you just get a very short impression. And then you say, well, my gut feeling says, well, I think this one is more competent. And nevertheless, the hit ratio was really impressive. In fact, the hit ratio, when the pictures were presented for only about 100 milliseconds or 250 milliseconds, the hit ratio was much better than when the participants were told, well, consider thoroughly. Take your time and think about it. Consider well before you choose. In this condition, the predictions were no better than chance. So it seems that the preference we have is based on unconscious, very fast processes. It's really the first impression, the first gut feeling we get that influences our decision. But actually, it shouldn't. I mean, who is going to lead a country shouldn't be based on how he looks, how competent he looks, or how attractive he or she is. It should be based on how competent he or she really is. So these results are quite alarming, especially because the results have been replicated in several countries. Burck and colleagues could show similar effects for the national and municipal legislative contests in Finland. King and Lay found similar results for the Australian parliamentary races. Rosa, Klein and Beckers showed effects for the German legislative elections, but there are also results from studies in Brazil or Canada. So this seems to be a worldwide phenomenon. And the effect size, I mean, this is quite logical. The effect seems to be stronger the less information we have about the candidate. This could be shown in the study from Banducci and colleagues, published in the journal Political Psychology and called Ballot Photographs as Cues in Low Information Elections. I mean, think of, for example, a election of a class representative. Think back to your time at school. You have a newly formed class, a lot of new pupils, nobody knows anybody, and you have to elect a class representative. So there might be 2 volunteers you don't know anything about. You haven't heard them say one word, and all you see is their face. How do you decide? Of course, you rely on your gut feeling. The less information you have, the more you rely on your gut feeling, and the more unjust or wrong your decision could be. So what do you need not to be influenced just by the looks of a political candidate, of course, you need information. Especially the results from the study from Gabriel Lenz and Chapel Lawson, called Looking the Part, Television Leads Less Informed Citizens to Vote Based on Candidates' Appearance. Especially this study emphasizes how important it is to be informed. Because in this study they showed the less informed citizens who watch a good deal of TV, and so they are exposed to a lot of visual information. All they know about them are their faces, and then they vote based on this impression. But if you're well informed, it doesn't matter how much TV you are watching. If you're well informed, your decisions are not that much based on the looks of the politicians. So in the end, I think there are two messages from these studies. First of all, if you are a politician, or if you are willing to become a politician, it might be helpful. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but it might be helpful to ask your friends, well, do I look competent? Or what can I do to look more competent? Because in part, people base their decision on how you look. This just seems to be the truth. So if you're really hardworking and giving your best to improve things in our society, and you want to be elected to get the chance to improve even more, I think you should take these results into account. On the other hand, we all have the chance to make elections a bit more fair by not judging based on looks, but based on information. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want, we will see you next time.